Welcome to Psychology Today. I'm your host, Ann Morrow. This is a show generally about bicycling and specifically about bicycle safety. I hope that Psychology Today inspires you to ride a bike and be more mindful of safety. We try to celebrate people in our community that maybe incorporate bicycling into entrepreneurial endeavors or career choices, and just those that strive to encourage others to ride a bike and those that support cycling and promote safety. Our producer, Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, is an organization that promotes safety and harmony between cyclists and works to strengthen our community and your families through cycling-related programs and events. 2018 found our volunteers placing free helmets on hundreds of local heads at various cycling events. You can learn more on our website. I want to give a quick thank you to our capable crew in the control room, more volunteers that make this show possible. Our guest is the infamous metal cowboy, Joe Kurmaskie himself. You may know him as a lively, phenomenal storyteller, both in print and in person. And we've invited him here to tell us about a new endeavor he's embarked on, WashCo Bikes in Hillsboro, Oregon, and to tell us a little bit about his life and riding. So let's get started. So again, my guest is Joe Kurmaskie, and welcome back, Joe.
Hey, wonderful to be here.
Glad to have you. You were here quite some time ago and shared some of your cycling stories, and we're going to kind of move along and talk about some of your writing, but all the other many things that you do.
Yeah.
Or maybe just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, we got an hour, right? So we'll rock.
Okay. So why don't you start just by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm the metal cowboy, and I got the name a while back. In Idaho, a blind old rancher tapped his cane across my bicycle and dubbed me the bike my horse and the asphalt my trail, and that stuck. Even though I look more like an aging surfer, and so I've 20 years into it, and 8 books in, and lots of speaking engagements and lots of activism and advocacy around active transportation and the bicycle. I'm hard at it, and I'm taking on a new challenge over the last 6 months or so. I've taken on the directorship of WashCo Bikes, which is the West Side's version of the BTA. It's the Bicycle Coalition, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. But it was 100 miles of busted gravel recently to get there.
Right.
I've had some health issues and really, walked with my wondering if I would still be here. And so it's been a rough road, but I'm hard to kill.
But you're here, and we're glad for it. And we will be talking about the WashCo aspect on the second half of the show. But let's just get some personal information. How did you initially get into biking in the first place?
Oh, well, the bike's been very good to me. It started early as being 5 years old and learning how to ride on my sister's little bicycle and breaking my arm racing down a hill in Pittsburgh, to jumping alligators in Alligator Alley in Florida, to traveling 200,000 miles around the globe, across the Australian outback, South America, pedaled my whole family across Canada, the Canadian Rockies, took my dad's ashes and my 2 younger boys across America for a whole summer, and it's just misspent my youth on a bike, and in the best sense of the word, and was able to come back and bring the stories back, and had a knack for writing. I was a journalist and worked at a newspaper and wrote for magazines, and so the book found a life in the columns and won a bunch of awards as a newspaper column, and went on to become the book Metal Cowboy, and sort of put me on the map, as you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been all over the world with it, from South Africa and being charged by 12,000-pound elephants to being on Discovery, and this book's been optioned for a TV series. So it's been a good life as far as the writing and writing about travel adventure, and specifically seen from the saddle of a bike.
And they're pretty timeless, I would say. I mean, I've read most of your books. They're pretty timeless.
Well, that's right. I try not to, find the universal in the specific. And I try not to, they're not about, my butt hurting in this campground. They're very much picaresque, Mark Twain, Bill Bryson type of stories. I'm treed by geese in New Hampshire. I'm hit by the smallest car in Ireland. I lose all my darts, my possessions in a darts game in Australia, and have to win it back in a mountain bike race. Elvis impersonators pedaling with me in the desert. So they're a lot of fun, but there's a lot of humanity, a lot of life's messy. So there's a lot of things beyond humor in the books.
That's true.
And so I think that's why they've stuck around, and they've Metal Cowboy's in its 9th printing and its 4th edition, and the other books have just given me a career. But at a certain point, Ann, you want to give back, and it's not just about the bicycle. It's about what you can, it's not just about mattering to the world or feeling like you want to matter to the world. It's finding out what matters to you about the world and sort of focusing on that. And in these dark times, politically and socially, I look at that statement of how to act local. And so that's the things I've done over the years, but very specifically out here in Washington County now. I want to really try and bring bike culture and help a lot of the good things that are already happening out here to bring active transportation, specifically bike programming.
So kind of transitioning that statement to what is the bike to you right now? How does the
the bike saved the bike itself, if I want to backtrack, the bike really saved my life. As you know, and we'll tell the viewers, I was diagnosed with hemochromatosis, which is the #1 deadliest undiagnosed genetic disorder in the world. 1 in 9 are carriers of European or that descent, and 1 in 200 actually have. And it's killed a lot of people, celebrities and people that just didn't know they were going to the grave because of it, because it presents other illnesses. And what the bike meant to me was it kept me in the kind of shape that allowed me to deal with what should have killed me. The doctor said my iron. What it does is it allows the iron to build up in your organs and tissues. It's not a blood disorder, even though the word hemochroma.
Yeah.
It's a genetic disorder that anything beyond when it turns on in your middle age, 40s, you store iron beyond your daily allowance, and that's not good, Ann. You build iron up in your system, it'll cause havoc. And my iron supposed to be 50. Mine, when they found out, was about 3,000.
Wow.
And the cure is, there's no cure, but the way to fix you to be back in the world is they bleed you. Very medieval.
Yeah.
Very Game of Thrones. They take a pint of blood every 10 days. So imagine giving blood every 10 days.
Yeah.
They don't put anything back in.
Right.
It starves the body for blood. The body makes new blood, and in the process of making it, it oxygenates it. It needs to find iron to oxygenate it. So it leaches the iron slowly but surely over the months. So you go through about 1.5 years of that, and I was doing great. And then, because it opens you up to other potentialities health-wise, I came down with something 2 summers, summer before last, and it really took me down and laid me low. I lost 35 pounds. I had a histamine response where I couldn't swallow very well. I couldn't sleep. It just spiraled and cascaded.
Yeah.
And I ended up in the hospital 6 or 7 times, and then modern medicine put me on a bad series of drugs that tried to kill me there. So my doctor finally, when I came through it all, he said, we've tried our best to kill you, but you're hard to kill. So that's going on my resume, Ann. What do you bring to this organization? Well, I'm hard to kill. And so, in the course of all that, there were tough transitions. My marriage ended. I had to really evaluate when my health came back around what I wanted to do with the time that remained. And I didn't have any regrets, big ones, when I was sort of on my deathbed there for a while. I'm not being hyperbole to say. I was in the hospital.
It was very,
Yeah, and I thought to myself, well, I just want to be here to share and do the things I've already been doing, but on a deeper level and a much more local level, and connecting with people one at a time. And so I've dove in. I was kind of recruited to take over the directorship of WashCo Bikes. And we're a transportation coalition, and we have all kinds of great programs like Adopt a Bike, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We're bringing Sunday Parkways to the west side.
Yeah.
We're going to have a pilot program in 2020, and if you're not familiar with Sunday Parkways, it's those open street festivals where you see your community in a different light by biking and walking and everything else. And they have all kinds of program and fun activities in the different parks and the churches and the synagogues, and the community really comes together and sees what we may be able to become in a lower car centric society. And so we're going to bring those to the west side, and we have a community bicycle repair shop and sales shop in Hillsborough. We plan to sort of duplicate that into Washington County. Covers 16 cities. So
I didn't know that.
Yes, and so we're looking to be what we purport to be, a county-wide organization. So we're working out to Forest Grove and down to Wilsonville and Lake Oswego and Sherwood.
Okay.
And so we've got Tigard and Tualatin and Beaverton, and we're doing all kinds of fun programs. We have a summer camp we'd love people to find out about. It's the Saddle Up Bike Adventures.
Well, let's talk about that a little later. I wanted to talk about. So you also got involved in this illness that this iron.
Yes, ironitout.org.
Yeah,
I always try and give back, even when I was down and out. For the first half of being diagnosed with this, I was still going great guns. In fact, the bleeds didn't really slow me down, and I dove in and started a foundation, and we lobbied to get some things changed so that because it's not a blood disorder, we got people to take we got the Red Cross and all the things waived, because it was all administrative and political. It wasn't medical. Our blood's the same as anybody else's. So here's these super donors like myself who are donating 50 pints of blood a year. That the blood was being thrown away.
Okay,
so we got our organization was instrumental in getting the waivers lifted and the bans lifted.
That's right. You did that early on, didn't you?
I did.
Relatively. As soon as you were educated, you were on top of this. Yeah.
And that's how I am. And that's kind of with WashCo Bikes and with the books. And we'll talk about the new project that I'm happy I lived to see it's going to hit the light of day. So and ironitout.org is rolling along, and I want everybody to educate themselves, because it is a very, very underdiagnosed disease, and it's because there's no real money in it. It's phlebotomies. There's a lot of money in the presenting illnesses down the road and we've also lobbied to try and get the tests for it that used to be on the panel back on, because they used to diagnose this more frequently.
Oh, okay. Isn't that interesting?
Yes. And so, we're doing good work there.
Yeah.
And now that I'm back in the saddle, I'm biking again. And it was really hard for me to not. There were days where I could bike a block or two and then have to lay down for.
And how did that feel? Because you were the most bicycle-oriented person I know. That must have been.
It took a piece of me.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a lot of me away, not just the bike, but things like music I couldn't listen to very well, noises and lights, and it was really my world. I went to ground, as Tom Petty once sang, and didn't know if I'd be back in the saddle.
Yeah.
And I wept in the shower when music was enjoyable again, and when I was able to dance on the pedals, just the first time I could climb back up a hill on a bike, really, it was just pretty much everything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I don't want to make it seem everything. I'd trade the bike for more time with my boys or like that. I don't want to make it seem like it's just about a selfishly wanting to ride, but to be able to have that back is a bonus.
But I wanted to bring it up because a lot of people that maybe not just cycling, but any activity, if you somehow lose that, whether you get sick or you have a car accident or whatever,
correct,
it can be pretty devastating.
It can, and I want to be a sort of an inspiration to people.
Yeah.
That you know, sometimes you just have to push through and live through and find reasons to get better or to adapt. I'm not saying that, you know, it's changed for me, but it's a very it's a great thing to be back out in the world and doing good work and connecting with people and being back on the bike.
Now, before all this took place, some of your books are about travels with your children, your family, and you have 4 sons.
I do. We're not Catholic, just careless, and so we're out there. We had 4 boys, and 2 are college age, believe it or not, now. Because, you know, I was a child bride.
Yes, you were a child.
So it's a really interesting, some of the stories that you've read and people have read about those kids. Now they're 18 and 20, the older ones, and having their own adventures. One of my sons just got back from 11 months of studies and kicking about in Asia.
Right, and but he's not so much a bicyclist, is he?
He is. No, that my second son's a skater.
Oh, okay.
He was on a bike over there and a moped on foot,
okay.
and you know he bikes, and so it's you know, it's hard sometimes. You know, Republicans raise Democrats, bicyclists raise car drivers sometimes because they backlash.
Yeah.
But I never tried to make it a forced march for them. And if you read my books, we got off of the bikes all the time. We made it a rolling sort of circus carnival adventure. And so they never felt, I hoped, and it seems to be the case, that they never felt a servitude or indentured to the bicycle.
Yeah.
It was more of a, what I hoped it would be is a time-traveling magic carpet sort of conveyance.
Well, the 2 older ones are old enough to tell you how they felt.
Oh yeah,
right?
They love it. Some of them have written essays. Some of them have done
I'm sure.
public speaking about it. So you know, that means it's a real Jimmy Stewart kind of "It's a Wonderful Life" moment when you realize that that they are they connected with it without being force-fed it, or
So
what
did
you
that
hope
just
wasn't force-fed.
kind of come naturally, or was that kind of a deliberate effort as a family that you would do these bicycle trips and stuff, or did you just love cycling so much that of course this is what you're going to do?
Well, you know, I mean, they didn't have a vote on it, but in the sense that they also we did other you know, it wasn't a bike ride, and I never looked for, and that's why the books feel I think have done well, is because I didn't manufacture situations. I just went out and lived them on the bike and let them happen, and so they feel authentic. And the same with the kids. We would go to Bouchard Gardens or swimming pools and have all kinds of adventures along the way, and the bike was just the way to get there. It wasn't the central focus. And I think that's a great tool to think about when you're commuting here in Washington County and other places in the metro area. You don't have to think of it as just this tool that you use to go to work. Or you can think of it as just a piece of fun that you use to go to the store, to go to the library, to go to the friend's house, and to go to work. And whatever you want to do with it, it's a device to transport you somewhere where you're getting your gym, you're getting your fresh air, and
maybe some meditation.
Right, and you're it's the most fun you'll have on a commute with your clothes on. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and that's it's the journey.
Yeah, and it's and you don't have to think, oh well, I got to put on all this certain gear and I got to put on all. That'll come, but different stages. I bike in my street clothes.
Yeah.
I bike in full-on kits and jerseys. It just depends on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But in general, my day-to-day biking, my utilitarian biking, my commuting is in whatever I am in, and it's just a lovely way to spend your days, and it really adds to your life. for all those people sitting in traffic or feeling
Yeah.
caged in. And I'm not throwing stones at them. I'm just saying, give this a try.
Yeah, give it a try.
And I'm 52, and I've other things tried to kill me, but I've never had any problem on the bike, and the bike has extended my life.
So one of the things you did this summer, you did some kind of a long trip in Eastern Oregon this summer.
Well, we went out to Eastern Oregon, and I did little patchwork trips, and it ties into the book that I've finished. We went out to Inga Thompson's ranch, and Inga Thompson is an Olympic medalist. She was in the 84 and 88 Olympics, and a 10-time road champion on a bike and on the 7-Eleven team. And she's very much the bookend to the book that I've finished called Lightning in a Saddle, which we'll talk about. I can talk about it right now if you want.
Go for it.
There's this amazing story that I discovered right before I got diagnosed. And it was just a picture of this emancipated era bicyclist that was just this Xena warrior cyclist, this Amazonian warrior on a bike. She didn't look like she was from the 1920s in the picture. She looked like she was from the 2000s. Her clothes, her demeanor, and I just had to learn more about her, and there was nothing to learn. It was like finding a picture in an attic. I was like, oh, well, this is a mystery. And I went on a literary global treasure hunt. I used facial recognition software that a buddy of mine in IT had, and it was an amazing hunt. And once we tracked her down, she had 7 different names over the course of her life, so I pulled it all together. She was Evelyn Hamilton, an amazing cyclist. She was the fastest woman and arguably the fastest person on a bike. And she set all kinds of records that our patriarchal sort of button-down society at the time and through today discounts and marginalizes women. And in this story, it's just all a true story.
Yes, yeah.
She lived from 1906 to 2005. She won the half-mile sprint in Britain. She won the Sporting Life Award. She set all sorts of records, won 50 races in 6 countries in 5 years. She became a movie star with Gracie Fields. She was the stunt double and had parts in Sing As We Go, a Gracie Fields international hit, and she had her own line of bicycles. She went 1,000 miles in 84 in-saddle hours. When it was officially taken in 10 years later by a male in Australia, it was 22 hours longer. I guess the records you write for women then were in invisible ink.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because they had them down, but there was the unofficial book. So this Seabiscuit story, this woman trying to really push against the system, and she was gregarious and attractive, and she lived and loved and rode on her own terms. And she tried every which way to get the Tour de France to let her ride against the men. And they wouldn't, because she was, at this point, she was winning all the races in her category. She was just, it was her and the clock. And they wouldn't let her. Even when the Queen of England and the Prime Minister and labor unions shot off the guns to let her records, and she had her own bicycle line. She was the first spokesman for recumbents, first spokesperson for rollers. She's the godmother of cyclocross for women. She started that because she wanted the Tour de France organizers to see not only could she road race faster, she had 200 women to go over hill and dill and dirt and rivers, and they filmed it. I have the films of this, the Plath newsreels. Anyway, that would be a hell of a story if it was just that story.
Yeah.
But then it takes a huge twist. She goes on to be, it's like the movie Inglourious Basterds, she goes on to be a spy in the French Resistance. She goes on to carry coded information in her handlebars and use a tandem to rescue in France downed airmen to bring clothes in the panniers and dress them in drag. And so there'd be these big, ugly women on the back of a tandem riding through the French countryside. And it's an amazing story of this woman. And in the end, she took over a bistro, and she assumed the identity of the dead bistro owner. And it was a Gestapo eatery, and they would the waitresses would take down the troop movements in the train, put it up behind, and she would code it. And Gino Bartoli said that this is where he got the idea to hide the stuff in his handlebars in Italy. So she should be up there with Susan B. Anthony.
No kidding.
Instead, she was going to be lost to the sands of time.
Yeah.
And I discovered her, and it was like collecting diamonds on a beach. I kept looking over my shoulder thinking, whoa! And it got more fantastical. I mean, I got redacted Secret Service documents. I really did my journalism. And
yes.
And she could have left France and gotten back. And the quote from her is, then I found out that Hitler wasn't a cyclist, and I vowed to help bring him down. And here's where the story opens. It opens in the book and the screenplay because it's been optioned.
Oh, really?
Yes. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But the book comes out real shortly. And it opens with her riding up a hillside in France on a road she'd won a race on 4 years earlier. Now, she's been doing her French resistance work, running the bistro. She's not worried. They print the papers above the bistro. She gets stopped at the top of the hillside. Lone specimen of Hitler's army. He's got the machine gun. He asks for her papers. She's not worried. She hands him over and he says, "Guten Tag, Gladys." Well, Gladys was her nickname in the British newsreels. So she knows she's been sold out. And instead of, cowering, our Evelyn Hamilton is cool as a cucumber. She asks him for a smoke because she doesn't smoke, but she's sizing him up. He gives her a whole pack. He's not worried at all. They sit there and have this ugly mock civility moment of window dressing. They're smoking above these fields that are feeding an occupied army, paid for by the gold teeth and the wallets of the ghosts of the gas chambers. They're having this smoke. And she says, "Does it end here or later?" He doesn't answer. He just blows smoke and says, "Do I call you Gladys or Evelyn?" She says, "Well," and this is the name of the first chapter, "my friends call me Gladys." Evelyn it is then. So she knows where she stands.
Yeah.
But what he doesn't know, and you do, as the readers and the viewers, is that Evelyn Hamilton kept a one-shot Derringer in the bun of her braided blonde hair. And she had practiced this over and over. But her quote is, "It's a whole other animal in the wild." Now, I had 99 out of 100 of us, the good guy with a gun theory and all that. We're not going to take this shot in that moment. We're not. Not Evelyn Hamilton, though. Evelyn Hamilton plays the vulnerable, plays with her hair, puts all the desperate, vulnerable, weak, kowtowed to this guy with his machine gun. She waits for just the right moment. And it's got to be one fluid motion. Pull, draw, shoot. And she looks over at that bike while she's thinking it over. And she knows she has more miles in that bike, in those legs. And so Anne, she pulls, draws, and shoots. And we go back to when she's 10 years old, riding bikes with her brothers just outside of London.
So when's this book coming out?
This book comes out in a couple months, and it's done.
Yeah.
And when I got sick, one of the things, my kids and my desire to still be on the planet, but one of the things really pulled me through my illness was, if I died, and Evelyn died twice.
Yeah.
And the book wasn't done.
That's pressure.
So I'm really happy, and I'm proud of the work. It's a legacy, and it's a very timely story.
Yeah.
For us today.
It sounds very encouraging. It
is very encouraging, and it's also a sort of an anthem to my beliefs of equality and how we really have to stand up to bullies and sort of work for a more livable world with the sort of stuff I'm doing with WashCo bikes.
Okay, well, we're going to go to a quick video here about bicycle safety, and then we'll come back with Joe Kurmaskie and we'll talk about WashCo bikes. So let's watch that safety video.
Bike safe, bike smart.
Hi, my name is Xander.
And my name's Elizabeth.
Over the next few minutes, we're going to have some fun and talk about some pretty important stuff.
Some of it you've heard before, but it never hurts to hear it again.
And again.
And again. So here we go. Did you know that just falling off your bike is enough to get a serious brain injury? So play it safe. Wear your helmet every time you ride. It can reduce the risk of head injury by up to 85%.
And that's a lot. The helmet should be snug on your head and sit flat. The strap should form a V under your ear, and the chin strap should also be snug. 2 fingers should fit in between your eyebrow and your helmet.
Also, make sure your helmet meets safety standards. Look for a sticker that says CPSC. This stands for the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
All the stuff we talked about today is common sense.
But you still need to think. Be courteous and be predictable by always riding in a straight line.
Wear a helmet. And follow the rules of the road. Ride with traffic on the right side of the road. Ride single file.
Obey traffic lights and traffic signs. Check behind you before turning. Use proper hand signals.
Stop, look left, right, then left again before entering a street. And use caution at an intersection.
Make eye contact with other drivers. Be careful around parked cars and watch for objects in your path.
And at night, be seen to be safe.
Never assume that motorists or pedestrians will see you. Remember, bikes are smaller than cars, and if there's a crash between the two, any guesses who will win?
That's all the time we have. So remember these 4 words. Bike safe, bike smart.
Bike smart, and make sure that that helmet fits correctly on your head. That's right, so that it can do the job it needs to do when you fall, because you will. So we're going to talk to Joe Kurmaskie again in just a moment and more about WashCo bikes. But I want to encourage cyclists to ride all year. You know, when we're filming this, it's fall, we're going into winter, the days are shorter as far as daylight, and you know, it might be a little colder, a little wetter. Please don't give up on the bike. Like Joe talked about, you can still commute maybe to work, and clubs and meetup groups have rides all the time, and so they'll help you get out and ride. So if you just kind of pick your days and watch the weather, you can still get a lot of riding in. You don't need to hang up your bike for the fall and winter. I want to mention that December 15th and 16th we have Bike Craft, and you may remember that we had Ellie Blue and Joe Beal on in August, and they talked about Bike Craft. So
Yep, I'll be there.
you'll be there.
Yeah,
Okay, Joe will
WashCo
be
bikes
there.
and the books and the whole thing.
Perfect.
And some
Okay,
art.
so there's one of the vendors, and there'll be other people selling goods, you know, cards and shirts and just.
It's just great. It's
Yes.
a wonderful event, and Ellie and Joe put it on, and they do a great job. And I encourage people to come out. You'll be really pleasantly surprised.
Yes. A good indoor activity, although I'm running a ride on Saturday, December 15th, and we will go to
Sure.
Bike Craft.
Bike on over.
But
That's
if
a great one.
that's what we're going to do. And so just Google Bike Craft and you'll find the information you need. And they do have a list of the vendors so you can know exactly who's going to be there and where it is. But December 15th and 16th. So I encourage you to go, and Joe's encouraging you to go. So it's unanimous. You should go.
Be there.
Also, Northwest Bicycle Safety Council, I'm wearing this cool shirt I got here, will be pairing with a few local Starbucks in Washington County for their Week of Cheer. And that's an opportunity for Starbucks to get partners involved in giving back to communities, just kind of like Joe's talking about on an individual basis. Starbucks is really good about being involved with communities, so we'll be working with them. Some of the Starbucks participating is the Canyon Road and the Cedar Hills Crossing Starbucks, Bethany Village Starbucks, and Garden Home Starbucks. They'll all be giving away helmets, which will be donated by Northwest Bicycle Safety Council on November 28th from 5 to 7. So the helmets will be free, but they need to be properly fitted. So the head has to be there. You can't just pop in and say, give me a helmet, please. You need to bring the head it needs to fit on so it can be properly fitted.
Attached to the body, of course.
That would be best.
Yeah, that's
yes,
the best
that
way.
would be preferable. Otherwise, why get a helmet? It's too late. So we're back with the venerable Joe Kurmaskie, who's a fixture here in the Portland metro area, and we're going to find out more about his new endeavor with Washington County Bicycle Transportation Coalition. We touched a little bit about this, but we're kind of go into it again. So you've been talking about your passion for cycling. How did you get involved with WashCo bikes? How did
Well, they're around for years as a volunteer board and really doing great work, but they've reached a point where they needed to take it to that next level. And they needed someone with some of the skills that I bring, the visioning and the management and the PR and the organizational skills. And I have a platform, being a nationally known writer and speaker and all that, and so I wanted to use those skills and that platform for good. And they're really a great bunch of folks over there, and we're building our board even more, and we're expanding our programs and really cultivating the ones we already have, like the Adopt a Bike holiday drive. We've expanded that out to low-income families and adults, and we're screening veterans for bikes to help with their rehab and their being able to go use them for the commutes and all that.
Yeah.
So we're doing some great programming. We've got a summer camp that's been going on for a number of years that we're expanding those programs. We have 4 one-week programs one in Forest Grove, Hillsborough, Beaverton, and Tigard. And we're expanding those weeks to 2 weeks in many of those places. And we're also adding in the future a diabetes management and prevention week. We're adding what we call a big kids camp, the average person Olympics, and folks that want to get together with college buds and girlfriends and come on out and have because camp doesn't end when you're 15.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Speaking as a former camp director. And then we're also adding a family camp where people can use it as their family vacation. And so Saddle Up Bike Adventures camp, it's going to have all of the safety and the skills programming that we've always done, but we're adding a lot of more arts and science and traditional summer camp activities, bringing in some of my writer friends that will help with some journaling and some of my artist friends. And I had a camp called Camp Creative, if you recall, back in Portland. And we're transferring some of those and all the good stuff that's already been going on. And so we're going to have a summer camp. We're going to have more summer camps.
Yeah.
And then we're also bringing, I mentioned, Sunday Parkways to the west side. We're going to eventually have 5 or 6 of those rides throughout the summer on different Sundays than Portland's.
Yeah.
But working with the Peabot crew over there, all my friends over there at some Portland Sunday Parkways. We have the same signage, same marketing, same quality of the ride.
Sure.
So we're really working in concert with them and in a team up with them. So it's not recreating the wheel, but it is massaging it for the communities and looking at one size doesn't fit all. So out here we have different issues where people use Fano Creek and heritage trails and streets and off-road and so we're looking at how to highlight those sorts of things in Sunday Parkways, because what Sunday Parkways also does is it highlights things that we'd like to see improve in the future.
Right.
So it's not just a ride, but it's a way to it's a political and activist and advocacy mechanism. And so we're really excited over at WashCo Bikes. There's so many good things happening. We're expanding our bike shop, and we have a shop that does, think of it as the Goodwill of bikes. We repair bikes, we take donations of bikes, and we service any bike. And it's the only shop in Hillsborough right now. We don't want to rest on those laurels, though. We want to be the best shop and offer all of those services at a discount. So those are some of the programs. Should I mention Adopt a Bike right now?
Yeah, let's talk about that because we're in November and it's
Yeah,
kind of
we just kicked off. We're trying to raise a bunch of awareness. We give kids and adults and low-income families and veterans, we give them a bicycle light helmet and lock and a safety class. So that all takes funds and that all takes donations of bikes. So we are looking for donations of kids and adult bikes. You can get in touch with us with the websites you guys are going to show, and funds too, because we're trying to give 7 schools from Forest Grove to Beaverton to Hillsborough and to Tigard. We're doing a couple hundred bicycles. So
No kidding.
that's our goal.
Yeah.
And,
So just kind of bottom line, why do you think it's so important for these young people, mostly, to have a bicycle?
well, it's your next generation. I don't know that we want to have a world that's just cluttered with one form of transportation that doesn't give you any exercise. It doesn't. This gives you exercise. It doesn't pollute. It allows you to see the world at a really incredible tempo. And it just, it's better than any big pharmaceutical. It's a great, I'm here to tell you that it really is a form of meditation and a bit of medicine.
Yeah.
To ride your bike on a regular basis. And it's not an all or nothing, Ann. It's not, you don't have to commute every day.
No.
You don't have to ride. I want to see people do it safely with bicycles. And these bikes that we're giving people are tuned up and new and used, but we want to put them on bikes that they can actually use, not just a structure.
Right.
Not a bottom
That they'll enjoy
barrel.
using.
Right,
yeah.
because everybody, regardless of your income status or what have you, deserves a quality piece of equipment and a safe piece of equipment to be out there.
Nice.
On.
I like that. So tell me, what's been your biggest joy thus far? I know you've only been with WashCo Bikes about 6 months or maybe a little longer. What's been your biggest joy thus far?
Well, just to see these programs getting rolling and expanding, and the people I'm working with, and seeing the enthusiasm in Washington County folks about things like Sunday Parkways and our summer camps and our Adopt a Bike, and seeing them step up. We raised in the last 5 days, we've raised about $2,000 of our 15 that we're trying for from people in our community. And that's just so encouraging to me, because you can get down in this world, in our political climate and our social climate, and people are really, just like I wrote about in Mellow Cowboy, that if you get outside of the evening news, outside of your one zip code mentality and sort of tribal mentality, and you start thinking of it as a global citizen, that you live in one place but you're a global citizen, you find that 99% of the people out there really are yearning for community and yearning to help. And one thing that my illness and coming through it has really taught me is I was already pretty grateful, but I feel like I'm changed. I'm in a place of permanent gratitude. I'm happy to be here. I'm on bonus time, and how can I help?
So you had kind of a different midlife crisis.
I did. I didn't buy the Corvette or whatever the nonsense is. I'm in a really great place in my life. A lot of people wouldn't think so, having sort of looked at the last few years and certain endings in my life, but I've found real beautiful things in the remains of the day.
Well, I think Washington County is fortunate to have you bring your passion and your visions to them. I want to kind of double back. You talked about your summer camps. So describe, it sounds like you have a lot of different camps, so this is maybe kind of, if you can generalize, just a kind of a day in summer camp. What would that entail?
Early on in the camps, we try and blend the safety and the training and the mechanics and the skills, but you get a lot of basic safety and skills along the way. The first day or so is a lot of that, but we try and make sure that you're going to swimming, you're doing Kodachrome, leaf printing out there, and all of it's by bike. So we're going to the different parks and the pools and all. So you're not sitting in one place.
Yeah.
We use a launching place like the fire station or the community center, and then we launch out from there, and we do all kinds of. So the kids, much like my stories of travel, the kids don't really realize that they've pedaled 15 or 20 miles over the course of the day, because it's in 2 and 3 mile increments to the different activities.
So you're helping them appreciate how they can do this.
Exactly, and they learn how to be. We're creating the next generation of active transportation commuters, and because Kurt Vonnegut said it best. You got 100 years on the outside. The only real rule is you got to be kind, and this is my way of presenting kindness in where the rubber meets the road. Not just words, but I've tried to be that guy my whole life, and I just feel really lucky to be able to still be here and to intensify that sort of level of giving back. And I mentioned to you off air that I had a moment with Robin Williams, and I don't know if now's the time to tell that.
Let's go ahead. Yep.
I was fortunately, as a writer, I worked for magazines, and I got the assignment to do for Bicycling Magazine 10 things about the bike, and they always find a celebrity. And so this was a few years before Robin Williams left us, and it was just amazing because as a humorist and a satirist, and I work stages, and so to be able to it was like a Make-A-Wish Foundation. I got a chance, and he told me I had 30 minutes on the phone with him. I said, "Oh, that's going to be great." So the first thing I did was I said to him, "We've met before." And he said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, you're this in the toy boat in San Francisco. This thing came across the counter, and it looked like a spider from South America, just so hairy and thick, and it was your left hand reaching across to pick a napkin up. So I've met your left hand." And I don't know if that's the right thing to say to somebody, but he, just being Robin Williams, said, "Oh, I'm real acquainted with my left hand." And we were off and running. And so it was this two-man stand-up kind of riffing, having a blast, and it really was a Make-A-Wish moment for me. And then I realized about 20 minutes in that I hadn't really done my job. I had not gotten more than 3 questions of the 10. So I jumped on, I panicked, and I was asking him all kinds of questions. And I said, when I went on the adventures that became the book Metal Cowboy, I thought of myself as a traveler, not a tourist. And there was a long pause, and he said, "You wrote Metal Cowboy?" And everything changed. He wasn't that guy you've seen on television or on stage. He was just, his whole demeanor changed, and we were just 2 guys on a stoop who both loved bicycles and making people laugh, getting to know each other. And he stayed on the phone another 30 minutes with me. And my final question to him was, how has the bike, what has the bike really done for your life? And he said, "Well, Joe, the bike has extended my life." He was a big cyclist, and so as a good journalist, or a bad one, I turned his words around, because if you can get them to agree to words you change, you can use it as a direct
that's your quote. Okay.
So I said, "So what you're saying, Robin, is that the bike saved your life?" And he did that Good Morning Vietnam. No, Joe, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that nothing can save your life in this world, because life is not meant to be saved. It's meant to be spent. And all we have to do is ask ourselves how we're going to spend the rest of ours. And that was a poor man's Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting. I mean, I was having this moment. I mean, it was a real moment with Robin Williams, and I cherish that, because when I hung up the phone, I really thought, how am I going to spend the rest of mine? And so I say to everybody out there, spend a lot of it safely on a bicycle, and you won't regret it. And get involved with us if you're in Washington County. Get involved with WashCo bikes. If you're in Vancouver, get involved with you guys in Bike Clark County. If you're in Portland, we're all one big metro area.
Right.
And there's no reason you can't support all of the different groups and be involved in activities like our rock and roll ride and gold rush run that we're going to do out at the museum, the Rice Museum.
So tell me a little bit about that.
We're going to do it next September. We're going to do a costume ride. It's 10, 30, and 45 miles, and families all the way up to racers can get out there, and we're all going to dress as our favorite live and dead rock and folk and country musicians. And each one of the aid stations is going to be the Clash and the Beatles and Prince, and there'll be purple amethyst necklaces. And so it's rock for the rock and gem of the Rice Museum, and it's roll for the bicycles. And so we've got this fun themed ride and run. We're going to have a Gold Rush run, so you're going to dress as your favorite rock stars then too, and country, and we'll have a feed line, and we'll have a band, and we'll have vendors, and we'll just have a really good time.
Yeah.
And it's a fundraiser for WashCo Bikes, all our programs we've talked about tonight, and a fundraiser for all the museum's education programs as well.
Sounds like a really fun idea. And just briefly, we've got about maybe 4 minutes left or so, but I wanted to talk about, I like to ask people, if time and money was no object, what would you do? I mean, you're 6 months into this, you're seeing where things could be better. What would you do for Washington County as far as bikes and kids and families?
Well, we're a bit of a bike desert as far as shops out here in Washington County, so I would tomorrow expand and extend our community bicycle repair shops and our bicycle shops. We want to bring culture classes and programs through those places, so they're not just a place to wrench. We're going to be doing a diversity mechanic program where we take people of color and people that can benefit from becoming, if they want to become a mechanic. We're going to train them and send them to UBI, the Mechanic Institute, and then help them find jobs. And I'd love to have more shops to place them in.
Yeah.
And not just shops to open a shop for some kind of profits.
Right.
We're looking to promote the bicycle culture out here. But would I do anything else? Would I just walk away from us? No, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. Where I want to be doing it.
You really are. Again, just briefly, so who have you found to be your advocates in this, and partners to help you accomplish this?
Well, we're working with Doran Becker, we're working with Intel and Nike and Consumer Cellular and a lot of the smaller and individuals. It all boils down when you're a small nonprofit that you're trying to grow to a certain place. We don't want to just grow for the sake of growing.
Yeah.
But when you want to grow to a place where you can really offer these programs in the way you want to, it takes all the individuals. It takes individual donations and smaller businesses and sustainable giving. And so, I just put a plea out there to think about us when it's time to offer your services, your time, and some financial backing to a charity.
Well, it sounds like you're well on the road. I'm really, again, how fortunate Washington County is to have somebody like you with this passion and this vision, and be such a driving force to make this happen.
Well, I try and get up, and I'll try and honor that and live up to that.
Well, you do.
And thank you. And vice versa. We've been doing these shows over the years.
Yeah,
so I've come on before, and you've been a stalwart, and I want to thank you for all the stuff that you do.
You bet.
So.
Well, it's not all about the bike, but a lot of it is.
But the bike is a damn big part of it.
Yes, yes. well, thanks again for coming, Joe, and I wish you well with everything.
Well, thank you, and it's great to be back in the saddle and doing things like biking all over Seattle last weekend, and I did the Mount Rainier, I did the West Side Trail with I have a healthy relationship. I'm dating Maddie Carlson, who writes Family Ride.
She was on the show a few months ago.
Well, you know Maddie, then. She's a force to be reckoned with.
Okay.
And so we're a biking couple. We get out there, and she's car free, and we have kids the same age. So we're you see us out there enjoying the road. Know that the bike can really, as Rob Williams said, it really extend your life and also enrich your life.
Okay. Well, thanks again to Joe Kurmaskie, and it's been a great hour learning what he's all about these days, and just a lot of fun. Put a smile on my face, that's for sure. Look for his books and come to Bikecraft in December, and you'll be able to meet him in person. So meanwhile, you get out and ride your own bike and be safe.